Speak what is true. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord.
Here's my heart, Lord.
Here's my heart, Lord. Speak what is true.
Speak what is true. Speak what is true. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my time together with my brothers and sisters, my kindred spirits, mighty companions. Welcome to Miracles with a Twist. Let's start our time together in prayer. Take a nice deep breath with me. Exhale. When you exhale, put your hand on your heart and feel your heartbeat. Take a moment to feel this connection that we share, you and I, with each other and with everyone whose heart is beating right now in this moment, who's alive. We put people in categories. We give them labels. We say sinners and saints, good guys, bad guys. But right now in this moment, we're just recognizing all as one, all as one. So as our heart beats, we imagine that we are part of the beating of the earth, Mother Earth's heartbeat. Sending love and compassion, sending the desire to truly rise higher, to be a voice for compassion and kindness and peace, to be an instrument of peace. So we set that dedication now in this moment. I vow to be an instrument of peace. And we ask Spirit, tell me where to go, tell me what to do, tell me what to say and to whom, so that I can best represent all the qualities of our divine source, creator. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart. Speak what is true. Today we vow, in addition to being instruments of peace, to pray harder, rise higher, love steadily, forgive readily, so that everywhere we go, we remember this desire to be in a state of higher consciousness, so that we see everyone as a brother, as a sister, as an equal. And with that, we take another nice deep breath. Fill your lungs and exhale into this moment, into this beautiful divine moment of unity. So welcome. For me, it is February 2nd, 2023. It is the first session in February. And for you, it could be anytime. I don't know when you're going to be listening or watching, but whenever it is that we are united, we're united as if we were sitting right here across from one another, because we are dedicated to this path of awakening, of seeing with new eyes. You know, we often talk about the light that is within each other, the light that we can see if we look with eyes of love and compassion, the light that we can see in and one another. We say that we are the light, that you are the light of the world. And yet I think that in A Course in Miracles, it wants us to recognize that the light is like an awakening from within. It's like turning on the light within of the truth of who you are. So I may not actually see a physical light. I may not see the loveliness of what light brings, but I may and can have the capability of changing the way I see. That's the turning on of the light, like going into a dark room. Everything in that room is exactly as it was with the light on as with the light out. But when we turn the light on, we see everything so much more clearly. And so that's what the Course is asking us to do, to turn that light on, the light of our inner eye, so that we can see each other in a way that is beyond the ego's dictates, beyond the preconceived notions, beyond just the tip of the iceberg. We're waking up to that. And yet we find, there's those moments where you feel so deeply connected and dedicated, and then something happens and you find yourself just sort of not being very enlightened. So like something has gotten turned off within, and nothing to be ashamed of. You're in good company. We all have that struggle. Everyone from Mother Teresa to folks we know in our daily lives. And it just so happens I was just listening to a podcast earlier today, an interview with Ricky Byers, and some of you may know her as the musical director at Agape. She was formerly married to Michael Beckwith, who's the head of Agape, and they started New Thought International. And she was speaking about the struggle she had with representing New Thought as separate from Christianity, because she didn't want there to be some misinterpretation around how their teachings were being presented. And yet, as the deeper she dug into the teachings of the New Thought leaders, the more she realized that those were the mystic teachings of Jesus. And it was actually pointed out to me sometime last year. Someone said, you've been teaching A Course in Miracles a long time and you rarely say Jesus. And I thought the same thing. I did not want the representation of our mystical Jesus, our brother, to be confused with the scripture and the Christian scripture interpretation of Jesus. And it's simply because some of us see that as a distinction. It's not about right or wrong. It's not about, who's got the right answer, because, we all think we're a little bit right and we all probably a little bit wrong. But for the hesitation in using words like spirit or universe instead of Jesus or God, or just whatever hesitation there is that comes from the old school concept of what it means to be a fundamentalist Christian, and then there's like a negative connotation to that, as opposed to those of us who see ourselves on a mystic's path and see Jesus as our mystic guide. So I just thought it was interesting that she admitted to that, and I was like, oh, I can admit it too, because I love Jesus now. I love Jesus as I see him and as I know him and as I experience him. But the other thing about that podcast is that she always starts with sort of her signature song, which is Holy, Holy Way. Now, she's not saying holy twice, H-O-L-Y twice. She's saying holy as in W-H-O-L-L-Y, the whole entirety of holiness. And so I was really interested in getting the words right. And for those of you who are on my WhatsApp daily text, I'll send it out to you in a few days. It's a great song. It says, oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me learn from all the ways I fail. Let me walk each day a little kinder. Let me walk each day a little wiser. Let me live in a holy, holy way. Let my steps walk a path of peace. Let me know that love is all around me. The reason I love this, as it correlates to her admission and my confession, is that it's a reminder that we are all in a daily struggle of managing our ego, our human frailties with our spiritual aspirations. And so today is all about realizing the fact that we can rise up in a moment and then fall in the next moment. And so it's a constant realization of who we truly are, being really rigorously honest about the steps that we're taking and why we're taking and how we're taking them, and when we take our steps back, and being in a place of acceptance of others who have that exact same struggle. You know, in A Course in Miracles, in the very, very beginning, before we actually even get into the text, when we're just opening the book, and there's an introduction, it says, "This course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence." Now, I mentioned this once before, a few weeks ago, the awareness of love's presence. It's not saying removing blocks to love. It's not saying removing your ability to love, the capability that you have, the full capacity you have to love. It's saying removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. So when the song says, "Let me know that love is all around me," it's the reminder that love's presence exists. The Holy Spirit presence exists all around us. Love's presence, the presence of the divine, the presence of that inner voice, the presence of that higher holy self that is the truth of who we are. And so when we have those faulting moments, those frailties of our ego, when we succumb to that, when we succumb to the temptation of the ego, we have to remember that we are blocking the awareness of love's presence. And when we remove that block, we are back into the presence of a compassionate sense of forgiveness, a divine love, the holy inheritance that we have to start anew. We don't have to sit in self-loathing, self-condemnation, and we certainly don't have to sit in condemnation of anyone else. It's the opportunity to continuously and always take a step back so that we can see ourselves and see each other with this light that we turn on from within. So we take a misstep and we start anew. We remember that we are looking with new eyes and sensing within ourselves love's presence, awakening to the awareness of love's presence. And I love when people are honest about it, when they just say, you know, this is my struggle. This was my struggle, whether it was my ego or my fear or my subconscious programming. I made these missteps. You know, in Course in Miracles, it says that a sin is a mistake in need of correction. Make the correction. We make our own corrections. We should say, okay, I need to do this differently. I need to see differently. I need to do differently. And I can begin anew. We can be the hero of our own story, because the hero is just a simple person who rises up. In fact, I just so happened to have an essay a friend of mine sent me about heroes. It's an essay by Heather Cox Richardson. And it says, heroism is neither being perfect nor doing something spectacular. In fact, it's just the opposite. It's regular, flawed human beings choosing to put others before them, even at a great cost, even if no one will ever know, even as they realize the walls might be closing in around them. It means writing in your diary that you still believe that people are really good at heart, even while hiding in an attic from the men who will soon kill you, as Anne Frank did. It means defending your people's right to practice a religion you don't share, even though you know you are becoming a dangerous, visible target, as Sitting Bull did. It means sitting down even when you were told to stand up, as Rosa Parks did. None of those people woke up that morning and said to themselves that they were about to do something heroic. It's just that when they had to, it's what they did. And it's all we can each do. It's all we can do. It's just to rise up at any given time. You may be the hero in someone's story through an act of kindness. It doesn't have to be a tremendous act. It can just be a courageous act. An act that allows you to stretch beyond your own comfort zone, to be of assistance to someone else, to be helpful, to be a kind voice, to be an available friend, stranger. Here's what Helen herself had to say. I don't know how many people read this. Sometimes I forget that it's even in here. In the preface, in the very preface of A Course in Miracles, there's a few lines by Helen herself. It's the only time that she actually is quoting herself in the entire book, whether it's the text, the workbook, the teacher's manual. Oh, this is the only time, and it's italicized. And she says, this is the one time in this material where she describes herself. She says, I am a psychologist, educator, conservative in theory, atheistic in belief. Atheistic in belief. She says this right here in A Course in Miracles. I was working in a prestigious and highly academic setting, and then something happened that triggered a chain of events I could never have predicted. The head of my department, and that would be Bill Thetford, the head of my department unexpectedly announced that he was tired of the energy, of the anger and aggressive feelings our attitudes reflected. And he concluded, there must be another way. And is as if on cue, I agreed to help him find that way. And apparently this course is the other way. And she goes on to say a little more about the startling months that preceded her actual writing, because during that time she was having all kinds of dreams and she actually thought she was losing her mind. She thought she was going crazy. She was like, oh my God, what is happening? And Bill was just, trying to calm her down, trying to keep her balanced and centered, and would say, just come in and tell me what's going on, and whatever you wrote, I will type it up. And so she would come to work and they would have like these little secret meetings, and she would read to him what she wrote in her stenographer's book, what she heard as what she called the voice, and she would read it to him and he would type it up. That's what this is. That's how this came about. She says, I would take down what the voice said, and she puts said in quotes, and I would read it to him the next day, and he would type it from my dictation. I expect he had his own special assignment too. Without his encouraging support, I would never have been able to fulfill mine. This whole process took 7 years. They are our heroes. Those are modern day heroes. This is a modern day classic, right? Because this came out in the 70s. And it's so simple. It's so simple to be a hero if we allow ourselves to not fall into a place of self-condemnation. And if we allow ourselves to continue rising up and to continue making those little corrections so that we can move forward with that dedication of praying harder so we can rise harder, so we can love steadily, so we can forgive readily, so we can continue on this path without feeling like every little bump and bruise or every time I fall off, I need to stay off. We never stay off. We never stay off the path because we already know what it feels like to have that deep sense of connection, and we want more of that. So don't punish yourself when you have a moment or a day, or however much time it takes you to recover from an upset, because you know that you have this tool that allows you to see that everyone else has made mistakes too. Everyone else has faltered. Everyone else has tripped over the bumps and the bruises and the potholes and made some wrong turns and went in the wrong direction and then turned around and recalibrated their route. The other day I was arguing with my GPS. The GPS was actually arguing with me because I had made a decision to go a different way. And it kept telling me that it was recalculating the route and that I needed to make a U-turn. I needed to make a U-turn, but I knew I wanted to go a different way. Same thing if your ego is telling you that you're just hopeless and helpless, and that you've just done too much wrong to be right, to get it right. You need to know within yourself that you can be the hero of your own story. It doesn't mean some great big accomplishment. It means that you take that moment to go within, to get quiet, to remember who you are, and to remember what this book says, that all you have to do is remove the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. And once you feel love's presence, you have that holy instant, and that holy instant will give you a sense of relief. And you could say, ah, yes, thank you. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart. Speak what is true. So these next few weeks, we're going to be going back to basics. We're going to be looking at the principles of miracles so that we can believe in them again, so we can remember that we're entitled to them, so that we can remember that we are the conduits of them. A miracle is that which occurs in the flesh and the blood between brothers and sisters. We think it's a miracle that comes from on high and sweeps in. It happens in our human experience. A revelation is that holy instant of connection with the divine. So we want to understand the course's definition of a miracle, because it tells us that there's no order of difficulty. And we think there is. It's hard for us in our limited minds to see that everything is equal, that all levels of emotion are equal, that all miracles are equal, that there's no order of difficulty, that one unpleasant thought is no different than a very big, ugly thought. According to A Course, it's all the same. It's all the same, because it's all a reminder that we're not aligned with love's presence. I'll tell you a quick story. One time I was driving to Key Largo with a friend of mine, and I was telling her a story about another friend of mine who had gone to swim with the dolphins. And the reason I was telling her the story is because on our way to Key Largo, there was a big billboard that talked about come swim with the dolphins. So I said, oh, a friend of mine did that. And then I went back to my original concern, which was that I had just been ordained. It was just a few months after my ordination. And I didn't know how I was going to get my name out. I didn't know how I was going to get the word out that I was available as a minister. I was already in my mid-40s. I had spent most of my career in human services, all of my career to that moment. So we're driving along, my cell phone rings, I answer it. And it was a woman who worked for the Miami Herald. And she said, oh, I got your name from this mutual friend of ours. Well, guess what? It was the same friend that I had just mentioned who had gone swimming with the dolphins. And I was like, whoa, I was just talking about her, I was like, what? And she said, yeah, I'm doing a story on people who had like midlife changes of profession and went into the clergy. And I was wondering if I could interview you. I was like, yes, you can. And that article ended up going on like the front page of one of the sections of the Miami Herald. And I did get calls after that to do some writing for some clergy corner that they had in there back in the day. My limited mind was not able to make that happen. It was like beyond my capability of thinking that, hey, maybe somebody will call me and ask me to do an interview. It was like, no, it's like that point at which we just surrender and say, you know what, I am willing to see wherever I go, wherever the voice of spirit takes me. Where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do? Let me just be the recipient, the receiver of whatever it is that's going to happen next. Because within my own self, within this limited ego, within this limited mind, within this limited amount of time that I have on earth, I can't figure it all out. Spirit swoops in. Spirit swoops in. Next thing I know, I've got a phone call, I've got an interview, and I'm in the Miami Herald. I'm not saying that things like that happen all the time, but that was a little bit of a miracle that I could not even have conceived of. And so now when I think of miracles, I remember things like that. I remember that there were things that are meant to be. There are some people who just find a way because they have it all planned out in their life. And there are other people like me that I don't have a lot planned out. I don't have a lot figured out, but I'm willing to listen, to hear, to be available. So be a hero in your own story, just keep putting up one foot in front of the other, keep showing up with your, as we said one time, your 5 loaves, your 2 fish, and just keep being available to whatever it is life has for you. And then you function from that place with these new eyes, with the willingness to see with the lights turned on. So I want to end with a quote from The Bumpy Road to Enlightenment, because that's going to be like our thing this year, right? I'm quoting a woman by the name of Mari Evans, who said, "I am a wisp of energy flung from the core of the universe, housed in flesh and bone and blood." That's what we are. We're just here. We're just here to see, how can I be my best? How can I rise higher today than I was yesterday? And then I say, as we are host to this wisp of energy, also known as the soul, we awaken to the realization of our spiritual essence, our opportunities to experience both human and divine in one existence. As such, we struggle with the confines and the demands of the ego while embarking on the necessary steps of courage, trust, and faith that lead us closer to spiritual enlightenment. But struggle is also our teacher, our divine, unique instructor of transformation, from harshness to compassion, from rigidity to fluidity, from despair to ecstasy. All of these are the circumstances of life that are the seeds that allow for the blossoming of our awakening. And during that awakening, we become aware where we have blocked our awareness to love's presence. And so for today, I ask that we all just remember these words, that we want to live in a holy, holy way. Let us love in a holy, holy way. Let us walk each day a little kinder. Let us walk each day a little wiser. Let us learn from all the ways we fail. Let us love in a holy, holy way. Let our steps walk a path of peace, and let us know that love is all around us. Love is all around us. Let us love, let us live in a holy, holy way. God bless you.